Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Pastor Chair from Korea. Look at this man. Genesis chapter 5, verse 21 to 24. Enoch lived 65 years and became the father of Methuselah. Enoch walked with God after he became the father of Methuselah 300 years and became the father of sons and daughters. All the days of Enoch were 365 years. Enoch walked with God and he was not, for God took him. There was a Christian who was passed away, but when he was alive in this world, he loved Jesus Christ and the church, the body of the Lord, more than anyone else. And when he was about to leave this world, he wrote a letter to his best friend about his dream he had kept in his mind for a long time. And then he had passed away. After his death, his friend shared the letter of this man to many people. He said in his letter, I want to imitate Enoch. I want to live like Enoch. The question of how I can imitate Enoch's life is a thought that dominates my mind every day. What kind of a character is Enoch that this person wants to be like? If we look at the Bible carefully, we can see that the godly people who appear in Genesis were truly great people. For example, Abel, who is called the first martyr, knew the secret of atonement that neither Adam nor Cain knew. Adam learned from God how humans can get closer to God after sinning, and he made this his life principles and put it into practice in his own life. So he built an altar to God and sacrificed a lamb. Also Seth and Enos, the later patriarch, showed the people their faith in God and taught them how to worship God. In Genesis chapter 4, verse 26, then men began to call on Yahweh's name. Enoch, however, lived a greater life of truth than the people mentioned above. He had lived a life of walking with the living God. Living together means living as a couple. After a husband and a wife take their marriage vows, they live their life together as a couple, sharing their joys and sorrows. When they are happy, they laugh together. When they are sad, they cry together. This is a marriage life, a life of companionship. Just as a marriage couple shares their joy and sorrow, Enoch shares his joy and sorrow with God throughout his life. If you look at family lives, some couples live really peacefully, while others argue and fight too often. The secret of a family living peacefully is that the wife makes her husband happy and the husband makes his wife happy. However, if you see a family who is not peaceful, both people bully each other. how tired they are who live this kind of family life. Enoch pleased God, so God also made Enoch happy. God allowed him to have a child which he had not been able to have even when he was 65 years old. God gave the child the blessing of good health. So Methuselah, the Enoch's son, became the oldest living person in this world. In addition to this, God provided Enoch with everything he needed: a house, food, clothing, and etc. God does not work with people who do not please him. How can two people work together if their hearts are not in harmony? Enoch has pleased God. It was because of his faith. He became a person who pleased God through his faith. Companionship means fellowship, friendship, communion, and love. Unless a person becomes worthy of God, these factors cannot exist between God and a man or a woman. So, was Enoch born saint? No. Enoch was a man like us. Just as people sin by nature from birth, he too was sinful. Just as sheep sometimes leave their shepherd, he also lost his way. The author of Genesis saw that a new beginning in his life at the age of 65, and it was hinted that even before that, he too had gone astray. Therefore, Enoch was also the person who needed sanctification in order to walk and enjoy with God. He also needed to receive forgiveness, just like we do today. No one in this world can enjoy with God before their sins are forgiven. So, how can we please God? The author of Hebrews says in chapter 11, verse 6, it is faith. Without faith, it is impossible to be well pleasing to God. Enoch became a person who pleased God through his faith. If Enoch had pleased God with some special talent, we could not but fear despair because we don't have that kind of talent. Even if Enoch had pleased God with a special gift or high personality, we could not but be disappointed. Because most of us, we are ordinary people, we do not have such gift or high character. Also, if Enoch had done something amazing or performed miraculous work to please God, we would despair because we could not do so. Looking at the word that records the life of Enoch, it is just simple. He had done nothing except giving birth to children. However, one of the greatest things Enoch did was recorded. He pleased God through his faith. If Enoch had pleased God through his faith, the door of this blessing is open to all of us. If we have faith, we can live like Enoch. Next, when we consider the fact that Enoch walked with God, we can see that Enoch was aware of God's presence. When we walk with someone else, don't we feel that the person is right next to us? Even though we cannot see his or her face, we can hear him or her walking. Enoch could clearly hear the footsteps of God because God was near to him and was walking with him. We often think that God will be with us only if we become great missionaries, and also believe that God is next to great pastors. However, God is a God who is with people who want to live by faith in their daily lives. Everyone has his or her friend for 10, 20, or 30 years, but who is the closest friend? No matter how long you have been together, if you don't see each other often, the distance between you and your friend will grow as the time passed on. The friend who are so close meet and talk every day and reveal the hidden secret of their heart, promise to meet tomorrow, and then part away. This was the meeting between God and Enoch. Enoch continued to maintain this fellowship with God for 300 years. It was a steady companion. There was joy, trust, and happiness in it. How safe a person who walks with God, who rules over heaven and earth. We also need to look at the environment in which Enoch had lived when he walked with God. Some people may think that it would have been easy for Enoch to serve God because the environment of the time lived in was not as complicated as it is today. So people think that it is difficult for them to live like Enoch. Therefore, it is even more interesting to find out the environment that Enoch himself lived in at that time. However, when we try to study about Enoch, there is almost no historic data about Enoch. Enoch walked with God and he was not, for God took him. This sentence is the entire description of Enoch. So some people say that Enoch's life was a quiet life without any significant adventures. But if you look closely at the Bible, Enoch was not a man in such a quiet position. In Jude chapter 1, verse 14, it was said, Enoch, the seventh from Adam. Therefore, Enoch was one of the chieftains at that time. The chief at that time was a person who had honor but also responsibility. The head of the family is the prophet, the priest, and the king of the family. And also the chief of the tribe who take care of family is a counselor, or administrator, and a ruler. Therefore, he is a person who had taken care of various public affairs in the society of that time. Yet, he did not break the connection with God and the holy conversation with God. Enoch lived a holy life that lasted for centuries. Some people say this: if I had lived in a small hut like Enoch, I would be able to walk with God. Also, if I had lived in a quiet countryside, what is there that prevents me from walking with God? Look at me, how busy am I? I have to deal with official duties and socialize with people on crowded streets, and I should take care of my family. So how can I walk with God? Housewives say I would be able to walk with God when I was a virgin, but now I'm always late to church because I have to care of my immature children and irritable husband. But what does the Bible say? Enoch walked with God after he became the father of Methuselah 300 years and became the father of sons and daughters. He is a family man with many children. Also, Enoch lived a very evil era. Enoch was a man who appeared sin covered the whole world. Jude chapter 1, verse 14 to 15. Behold, the Lord came with 10,000 of his holy ones to execute judgment on all and to convict all the ungodly of all their works of ungodliness which they have done in an ungodly way, and of all the hard things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. It was a time when there was not many people who loved God, and when pleasure and greed dominated the era, and the illegality, injustice, murder, viciousness, adultery, and the fraud were raging. At times like this, Enoch could not remain quiet. The spirit of truth and holiness burning within his heart made it impossible for him to sit still. Enoch was looking ahead to the coming judgment of God. It is not surprising that the theme of Enoch's sermon was the second coming of the Lord. Therefore, Enoch stood in that evil age and lived as an advocate of the Word of God. When a person dies, they say he or she died. To say it more directly, he or she is dead. But about Enoch's death, the Bible said he was not. In other words, he is there. He has gone, but he is there. God took him to his side. He was with God in the past, and now he is with God. People would have asked, where is Enoch now? Because no one saw his death. But the people who know his departure say that God took him away. Enoch became a witness not only to the people of his time, but also to the people of the future. Look at this man.